Well, this year, my New Year resolution is I didn't make any. And so far, I haven't made any. Don't know why, but this year I just didn't. But if you feel like resolutions are impossible to keep, you're not alone. Dr. Kohli is here, and she can help with that whole resolutions thing. Dr. Kohli, it's good to see you.
Hi, Claudia. No resolutions at all, huh?
No, but you know why I didn't make them? Because I never stick to them.
Right.
And I think I just kind of gave up. But that's the case for a lot of people, really.
It is, and there's a science behind why we don't actually keep our resolutions. So if you think about how we make our resolutions, they're avoidance resolutions, right? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go on social media. I'm not going to, so we feel negative about them to begin with. So that's one of the problems. The other problem is we're too extreme when we make our resolutions. So I'm going to exercise every single day for the rest of the year, right?
Yes.
Instead of saying, okay, I'm going to exercise for 10 minutes a day for the month of January, where that's a much more sort of digestible and easy to access goal. Because if we don't end up exercising every single day for the rest of the year, then we throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, okay, we're done. The resolution's already,
I already blew it, right? But you're right. Maybe we're just going a little too far in making those resolutions and not necessarily realistic, right? Well, Dr. Kohli, you're a cardiologist, so we want to talk about heart health and why this should be on our list of resolutions for 2025.
Yes. So, as you know, heart disease is the #1 killer of men and women.
Yeah.
So statistically speaking, every single one of us is most likely to get heart disease. And that includes obviously heart attacks, but also conditions like stroke, dementia, kidney problems. They're all sort of linked to heart and vascular disease. But here's the kicker. The American Heart Association says 80% of heart attacks and strokes are preventable with the right lifestyle changes done early in life. So even if you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, it's never too early to start thinking about heart health, and it has to be on your resolution list.
It really does. Now, what can we add to our resolutions to ensure we are maintaining our heart health when it comes to like exercise? I think that's a big one.
It's huge. So I actually say there's 4 pillars: eat, sleep, move, and stress. So those are the 4 pillars we should really focus on. We'll talk about eating. Sleeping is 7 to 9 hours. Moving is a big one. So we really want to shoot for 30 minutes, 5 days a week. And what I like to tell my patients is a 20-10-5 rule. So 20 minutes of cardio, 10 minutes of yoga, Pilates, or weightlifting, and 5 minutes of meditation.
Which meditation I've kind of been seeing everywhere lately. It's important to meditate, to stop and just meditate.
So I like to say meditation is like brushing our brain's teeth. Because our brain is on all the time. As soon as we wake up, it turns on,
Tell
and then
me
it's
about
on.
it.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we really have to put pause on our brain and allow it to sort of rest and restore. And the meditation helps us to release chemicals that brings our heart rate down faster from the cardio. So after we do the cardio and get the heart rate up, we release good chemicals in the body, but we want that heart rate to come down very quickly.
Got it. Okay, so 30 minutes at least 5 days a week. Okay, remember that. And that's not too much to ask for.
It's not, and you have to mix in those 3 types. So you can't just only do running. I have patients who say, I run every day. Yes, but you also need to do some, muscle building.
Muscle building as well, not just cardio.
Some core strengthening with Pilates,
Okay.
And then that kind of relaxing meditation.
Got it. I need to add the meditation part. Okay, let's talk diet, because what we eat is another big part of this.
It's one of those 4 pillars, like I said. So diet, and I always say food is the best first medicine. If you're eating the right things, you shouldn't need to take a vitamin or a supplement or anything else. There are a few diets out there, in fact, and one is called the DASH diet, which is a low sodium diet, less than 2,000 milligrams of sodium in a 24-hour period. And the other is the Mediterranean diet. And the third is a diet called intermittent fasting. These are all diets that have been proven to reduce your risk of having heart disease. So I like to say that every plate should have about half fruits and vegetables. A quarter should be a lean protein like chicken or tofu or seitan, something like that. And a quarter should be a whole grain. So if you think about your breakfast, lunch, and dinner with a half fruits and vegetables, quarter whole protein, quarter whole grain, that's a really nice way to make sure you're getting a nice, well-balanced, heart-healthy diet.
We have to definitely watch what we eat, because that's another one that I struggle with. When you said the DASH diet, I was thinking DoorDash. So it's so bad, but it's a matter of really making that decision to say, I want to put my heart health in check.
Right. And the other thing that happens to us as we get older is every decade of our life, we ought to be cutting down our caloric intake. One of the best ways to live longer, longevity, is portion control and fewer calories. And so that's actually been shown over and over again in animals that they give fewer calories to, they end up living longer. So we eat the same thing every year. However, we need to be adaptive. You know, every time we get older, we need to cut down the portions just a little bit. So it's about a 10% reduction in our calories every sort of decade of our life.
Oh,
so make sure we're eating less and eating the right things.
Okay, it does get harder as you get older. Before I let you go, you know, my father had a triple bypass surgery, and he had no idea.
Right.
He just happened to go to the doctor, and they saw it, and they said, how are you alive right now? And he was admitted the next day. When should we and how should we be checking our heart health?
I'm so glad you asked me that, because it's about being proactive, not reactive. You do not want to wait for the heart attack, wait for the symptoms, because they sneak up on you.
They really do.
And they could be fatal. So every single one of us starting in our 20s needs to start having blood tests and biometric screenings like blood pressures and waist circumference.
Okay.
And then by the time you're in your 40s, you need to have more advanced testing like an X-ray of the heart called a calcium score. We are so good about screening for cancer, but when it comes to heart disease, we drop the ball on this.
Yeah.
And so we really ought to be going to our doctor every year, asking for blood tests, asking for a test called lipoprotein A, and asking for that X-ray of the heart, and staying ahead of the problem so that we are smarter than the disease. It doesn't get smarter than us.
Good advice. And I know that firsthand that we definitely need to be checking our heart health. Dr. Kohli, thank you so much for being with us today. Great info, everybody. And of course, if you have a question for Dr. Kohli, she'd be more than glad to answer that. Send an email to MyCOCO at 9news.com and put Kohli in that subject line.